My name is Regan Murray Lara, and I'm one of the U.S. ambassadors here for Upwork. So thank you for coming and welcome to our very first virtual community hour event. So there's been a lot of interest in this event, so we're really excited that you're here. I'm focusing specifically on community building events and initiatives. So you might see my face on some of the huddles or within some of the community groups on the Upwork platform. So I am here to help connect you with each other and so that we can help support each other and grow our businesses, hopefully for many years to come. So this Upwork Virtual Community Hour series is going to be a monthly event and a time for community members to connect live with each other and the community team. The events will be set up as a live stream, just like this one, and hosted by the community and events team, which is myself for community members all over the world. We'll be involving and engaging other community team members and leadership, as well as some amazing talent. So those are two of my co-hosts that you'll see here with me today. So our goals and objectives for this event is not only to educate, but also to bring the community together. So we're hoping to celebrate the community and its members by highlighting your achievements. And it's also going to be a place to learn about new things in the community, have some fun, and hear from other members as they share their learnings and engage live with one another. So every format will be a little bit different based on the agenda that we build for this event. So make sure you tune in each month if you can to see what we have going on for that month, as they'll always be a little bit different and they'll always be live. So the format for today's event is going to be a brief introduction for about 5 minutes. Then we're going to get into the panelist discussion where I'm going to chat with my two amazing panelists. I do have some already pre-chosen questions, but I'm also going to be taking questions live from you guys. So as we're kind of listening to them chat, if you guys have any questions you would like them to answer, please drop them in the chat below so that we can take a look and hopefully answer some of those live for you guys. So that discussion will be about 25 minutes. And then for the last 20 minutes, we're going to give you guys the opportunity to do networking in some breakout rooms. So I'm going to automatically just distribute everybody into a couple different breakout rooms so you can actually connect with each other and kind of talk on a more personal level. If for any reason you're not happy with the breakout room you're in, please feel free to leave it and come back to the main session, and I'll do my best to sort you into another group that you would like to join. So that is pretty much it for the introduction for today. Without further ado, I would like to pass it off to each of my panelists to give a brief introduction about themselves. So why don't I let Nicole go first, since ladies first, sorry, Gavin. So Nicole, if you want to unmute yourself and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Nicole Hansen. I've been working in Upwork since before it was Upwork, when it was Odesk in 2007, so I'm an old timer. I started off with a job doing copywriting for a travel website devoted to the county I grew up in. So I had a little edge there. It was the first job I applied for and I got it. And then I moved into a lot of project management, web development, business analysis, editing, a little bit of everything from those categories. And so I prefer long-term jobs, but I've also done a lot of short-term jobs as well. So amazing. It's been, and I started off in the US and now I live in Egypt. So, but I took my job with me. Working on Upwork, so it's really good if you need to travel or move a lot to work on Upwork, says you don't have to worry about finding a new job.
Yeah,
I guess that's a little bit about me.
Good. Well, we'll get to hear a lot more in a little bit once we start our panel discussion. So I will take it back to Gavin to introduce himself quickly as well.
Hi, I'm Gavin. I live in the United States in Los Angeles, and I have been using Upwork for many, many years, but mostly to hire people. So I have an agency, and we're located in Los Angeles, Toronto, New York, and London, and we had offices in each place, and we had to pay everybody. So I basically got rid of all my employees, and I decided to move my entire business onto Upwork for hiring, and it was phenomenal. I didn't have to set businesses. I didn't have to do all sorts of things. I just had to, be able to pay people on Upwork, and it was easily taken care of anywhere else in the world. And as we move towards global business, that was the best thing for me. A little bit about our agency. We do Zoom events. We do video production. I'm a former TV producer. I used to work for Nickelodeon and and CBS and stuff like that. And then also we do a bunch of social media. So we were for a long time one of the top social media boutique firms. We did the global strategy for BBC News. We did lots of newspapers. We did a lot of strategy around that. We work with some of the biggest brands in the world, Sony and Red Bull and that sort of thing. So I now use Upwork in a different way, as a joke. About during COVID, when my business got wiped out a little bit on the social media side because we were doing a lot of ticketing, I decided to put up that I was a Zoom expert, which I was because we trained all of Disney's people. And I'm just going to say to you guys really quickly, I put it up because my father passed away during COVID, unfortunately, and I couldn't go to the funeral because he's in Canada, I'm Canadian. So I decided to do it in Zoom for my mother. It was so successful that I decided as a joke, just for my dad's, effigy, I put it up on Upwork. I literally got inundated like overnight with people wanting to hire us for Zoom. The business exploded. Because I'm a former TV producer, and that's why we're here today. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about the agency side, but also about how I did it on the other side as well too. Regan?
Amazing. Well, thank you both so much for that introduction. And I know it's been a hard 2 years, so for everybody. So thank you for sharing that, Gavin. I know it's really vulnerable and hard to share things like that, but I know a lot of us here on the call have gone through similar things. So it's nice to hear that, we're all in it together and kind of turning it into a silver lining through our work here on Upwork. So I really, really appreciate it. And I know that everybody here on this call also is going to appreciate the fact that, we can kind of do our work from anywhere. I love seeing people calling in from all over the globe. I know a lot of times we do country specific events, so I haven't had the opportunity to interact with so many people from other parts of the globe. So I'm really happy that you're all here. So our first question is going to be, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business on Upwork, but we covered that a little bit. So I know you guys will talk about that as we continue to go on. So I'm just going to skip to the second question and say, what lessons have you learned that most drastically changed your business on Upwork? This can be obviously recent. It doesn't have to be recent. But yeah, share about what you think has most drastically changed or helped your business on Upwork and how it relates to your business.
I think for me, it was, I wouldn't say there's something that's drastic really, but I think one good piece of advice, and I don't remember where I got it from, if it was an article on Upwork or something someone said in the forums, but it was to not write just a standard cover letter, and instead to tell the client how you're going to solve their problem. And that especially has worked for me with small jobs, because you can easily define what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. But another thing that, that it just, even when there's jobs that ask questions for you, that gives you a chance really to tell them how you would do things. And to me, that I think helped to really set myself apart, and also just to not rehash my resume. And one thing I've been doing lately too is just say, hey, you want to know more about me? Click on the link to my profile. I don't need to rehash my job history. I just, cut to the chase. And that's going to be more detailed than anything I can give in a cover letter anyways. So I think that's one of the best piece of advice really I got, was to just ditch the standard cover letter.
Yeah, for me, the same thing. There was a few things that I saw on Upwork that I thought was really interesting. That when we started responding, so I'm going to talk about the Zoom side right now, what we were doing there. What I tended to do was I tended to have a standard letter, but I also used video to introduce myself, which we found was really strong. But also we spent a lot of time manipulating the algorithm on Upwork. We understood exactly how the algorithm worked. We spent a lot of time testing it, or I say we, but I really mean me. And there's all sorts of things you can be doing, like checking twice a day. And these sorts of things differentiate yourself because the algorithm in the back end is checking in with you all the time. So if you know that you're going to be applying for proposals, making sure that I hired another person that would just, as soon as we were invited to something or something went up, they were checking twice a day. We were applying right away, making sure that we were there first. And then, which we'll talk about a little bit later, we had a very set way that we vetted people. And on the Upwork platform itself, very important to differentiate yourself. So obviously I do a lot of different things. I'm a social media, I'm video production, I'm a former TV producer. But what I did, which really, really helped us, I very focused it. We only do Zoom virtual. We don't do Google. We don't do Adobe. We became extremely specific. I live in the United States, where it's the most competitive world, most competitive country in the world for doing business. So we on Upwork found that being extremely focused, and it's the one thing I have noticed on Upwork when we're hiring, is that people try to be everything. They're always like, oh, I'm a writer, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. That's great. Pick one. And that's what helped us to key differentiate. Once I did that, people knew exactly what they were getting. And when I worked with them, they knew exactly what they were getting on their side. And they didn't have to say, well, do you do this? We never got questioned. They knew exactly what they were getting.
Amazing. I love that so much. And that's something I hear over and over again, talking to a lot of really highly rated freelancers, is to become a super specialist in the small niche that it is that you offer. So Gavin, I know that you kind of started off with a lot of things, but now you're the Zoom guy, you're the Zoom expert. And really that's how I found a lot of top rated freelancers and agencies having the most success, because if you try to be a little bit of something to everybody, you might not be able to provide that same level of service as somebody who really is an expert and the creme de la creme in what they're offering. So
we are struggling with it now, Regan. I can tell you is that now during COVID, it was easy to be a specialist because everyone's at home, right?
Yeah.
But now that we want to fold our social media and we want to fold our video production in, we're really struggling. Like, we're having a hard time because every time you add another thing to your, you dilute your brand, and Zoom is sort of going away, right? Like all the people that didn't really know what was going on with Zoom then came to us. They're now in a situation where they're like, okay, we know how this works. We're going to figure it out on our own. We don't need Upwork. So we're not getting as much business. Whereas we used to get like 6, 7, applications a day just in the US, and outside of the US, probably 10. Now it's, dwindled down to 1 or 2. So we're struggling on as to how we, branch out. And I think you and I have talked about it, Regan, is that we wish we could have separate profiles for a specialty rather than having one agency profile or one specific profile. It'd be great to be able to have a Gavin as a Zoom expert, Gavin as a social media expert, Gavin as a video production expert, because I find that when people come to my profile and they see all three, they get confused, and you have literally hundreds of seconds to make those decisions. And I think I agree with you, Regan. The people that are very focused are the ones that we hire on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that, to your point, Gavin. I think the nature of business is changing a lot through the pandemic. So pre-pandemic, we saw people coming to Upwork who really needed help with a specific problem. They might have been a little bit more tech savvy because they were already looking for this help on the platform. And now, as we're kind of moving into this post-pandemic phase, we're starting to see different types of clients, and they're at a different point in their business. So they're either, even less tech savvy because they're moving, everything online forcefully, as a lot of businesses had to, or just like Gavin mentioned, maybe they're even more tech savvy now. They're able to do some of these things on their own. So they don't really need the hand holding that we used to see that needed to be offered. So now they need some more complex assistance. So it's kind of where agencies and freelancers just like us can continue to develop our skills, kind of keeping an eye out for what your clients need, but also what you are anticipating their needs to be. And can you also evolve to fit that? Can you evolve to be the freelancer that's going to continue to work with them long term and continue to offer solutions for them, rather than being a one-time hire or a one-stop shop? So I know that's what Nicole talked about a little bit as well, in that she prefers long-term clients rather than short-term clients. So Nicole, can you talk a little bit about how you have, established some of those relationships with those clients? How
I
you
think my experience has been a bit of the opposite of Gavin's, especially with the long-term ones. I'll just use one that I've been working with since January of 2020. And I was originally hired as a co-editor of a website newsletter, basically, and the website hadn't launched yet. But I wound up then also, they were developing a custom website and it just wasn't working out. The developments was really slow, and I suggested, well, why don't you move it to WordPress? Because I had been working as with WordPress for 7 or 8 years with another long-term client. And they put me in charge of the whole development process. I also became senior editor. So I was wearing 2 hats at once for a long time, managing, 20 writers, assistant copy editors, all that, plus managing designers and developers on building the website. And now I don't do any of the editing anymore. I'm just managing the development project, and that I'm doing less hours with that client, but I have a new one, and I think it really, there are, especially now, if you're going for some company, like if you're working for Disney, like Gavin has, then of course they want specialists because they have thousands of employees. But I often work with small companies. They may just be 1-2 people working, full-time people, owner, working directly with the owner. When I just was hired for now, they have, 11 or 12 full-time employees, but they're not big businesses, and they do need, and if someone can wear multiple hats, it's all the better for them, because they can't be hiring, a full-time Zoom person because they simply don't have enough work for a full-time Zoom person.
And I would say, Nicole, we did the same thing, is that we don't work with big businesses, actually, a lot of corporations. I mean, on the other side, we used to before Upwork, but what I really, really enjoyed is that, as you can tell, I'm a little bit older. So
Yeah.
I've been doing this a long time, and I really changed my entire philosophy. I live in California, so we're all woo-woo. And I said, you know what, I don't want to work with, I was tired of working with big, giant corporations who didn't care who I was. I worked with middle managers. What I really enjoyed about studying up my Zoom profile is I mostly worked with small businesses, small companies,
But
small business, and it was great. I really, I agree with you 100%.
but yeah.
Go ahead.
On the other hand, I'll tell you, but I am actually, because the company I just was hired for last month, we are working with 2 very big Fortune 500 companies, one of them with 500,000 employees, but we're the outside agency providing services to them. So, in that context, I am working with these big companies, but not directly. And I kind of like that because, also then there's more variety of work because you may have several clients, but I'm working for one client on Upwork, and then I have opportunities with multiple clients, but I don't have to be going out applying for new jobs, chasing the business, doing the bit marketing and marketing myself, because when I've been between big jobs, I take a lot of more unusual small jobs, but it takes a lot of work just to be applying all the time. And that's why I prefer longer term,
Well,
regular 10, 20, 30 hours a week kind of things.
I ended up like outsourcing that, like on Upwork, using someone on Upwork to do some of my applications, and I trained them, and it worked great because I was going 24 hours around the clock, right?
Exactly.
Because I was
Yeah, that's the
someone
best way. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was.
Yeah. And I've used
But as
that
a
as a
writer, I
selling
guess it's
point.
a little bit difficult sometimes for you as a writer because you have to really write. I mean, they're looking for you for your writing. You can't have someone who can't write applying for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I am, the 24-hour thing is a very good point. I mean, I've used that as a selling point too. Sometimes these employers will say, we only want US-based people. Well, I can say, yeah, I'm American, but I'm located, same time zone as Eastern Europe. So if you've got developers in Eastern Europe or in India, I can manage them morning time live, and then in the evenings I can have calls with your corporate clients. And so really, I think there is definitely, I mean, even I worked on a job, and this was long before Upwork and 20 years ago, and we were the client in Cairo, and we had a development company in Oregon, and it was 10 hours time difference. There was no chat, there was nothing, but basically it doubles the working day.
Yeah.
So if you, especially, with a lot of developers being in Eastern Europe and India, they can, if you've got someone who can manage that somewhere in between, European sort of time zones, it really can be a good benefit to companies.
And that's something I want to point out as well for everybody who's on this call, is that even if you're not actively a client, meaning like you don't, run a business where you need to hire people, try hiring somebody on Upwork just for something personal. Like, I know tax season just passed, but if you needed somebody to help you do your taxes, if you need somebody to help you, maybe write an outline for a book that you're thinking of. If you can think of anything personal related, even not business related, that you can hire somebody for on Upwork, it's going to give you that experience of going through the hiring process, posting a job, kind of vetting candidates so you can see who pops up first in your ranking. You can see exactly what clients see when they're looking to hire you. So I found this to be really, really helpful, not only for myself, but for other people who do it as well. So I know some of these, more long-standing talent on the platform, like Gavin and Nicole, they've hired people for their actual work, so they know how this process works. But don't feel like you have to do it just for your work on Upwork. You can find somebody to do something for you, that doesn't relate to your freelancing. And so you can still get that really valuable experience of hiring somebody on the platform and going through the process end to end, so that you have a better understanding as a freelancer, as well as how to walk your clients through it. Because I think we are seeing that a lot, as well as some newer clients on the platform post-pandemic that don't really understand completely how to navigate the platform. So I know that's a frustration that a lot of us have, is kind of educating our clients and walking them through things as well. So I really like that you guys both have the experience of hiring other people. So I want to also
I see, Regan, just one question. I just see a lot in the chat about people that what they're talking about. And I just want to say to everyone is that everyone, well, how do I get more jobs? How do I get more stuff? There's a very set strategy that you want to do. You are going to have to, and we did it. You are going to have to lower your rate for the first 10 to 20 jobs to get those reviews. Those reviews are gold. If everyone here, I can see you all chatting, oh, I'm doing this, great. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. If your rate is normally $50 an hour, you're going to have to work for 20 bucks an hour, and maybe even less. But you need to get the ratings. That's what pumps up on the algorithm in a big way, and it is the only way on Upwork. If you get good reviews, you will be seen more, and people look at it very quickly. Again, we found that people were making decisions on Upwork with eye tracking and stuff in under a second. So they were looking at all the people that were applying, and they were making decisions. And I'll tell you some stuff later on in the Q&A about things that we've learned about where you should be looking in your photo, how big your photo should be, how close your photo should be, whether it's male or female, how you present yourself on Upwork. There are lots of little things. People are making decisions in hundreds of seconds.
Yeah, that's really good information, Gavin. And I'll share a little nugget of wisdom as well from when I used to do some more educational events. Is when you're applying for a job and they have those specific screening questions that the client has written for that job. There's usually 2 or 3 of them. Those are the very first things that you should answer, because those are the very first things that clients see. That pops up above just your cover letter, and really the client's taking the time to ask this specific question. It's really important to them to get the answer. So those 2 questions are going to be much more important the way that you answer it, rather than just your cover letter. So I know Nicole spoke to not doing a generic cover letter, and that kind of goes without saying, but make sure you're answering the questions as well.
No, this job I just got hired for last month. I mean, that's what the woman said. Thank you for taking your time to give thoughtful answers to the questions. I mean, that really, because some people will just cut and paste, and you can't cut and paste questions like that. And, that alone, I mean, I think really can help, and I think also I see a lot of people asking questions about how to get their first job. How I got my first job, and it was the first one I actually applied for, was I found something that was super specific, that there would be very few people as qualified as me to do it, and which was writing travel content for the county I grew up in. So not that I was, that great, a special writer, but I could say, hey, I grew up there. I know the place. I can write, for you. And that landed me the job. And this was 2007. Things are probably a lot different on Upwork, then less competition maybe, but still, I think just look for something that you're going to be able to stand out really well on in the beginning. Later, maybe it's a reach, but in the beginning, it's your first job. Any background you have beforehand, find something that you can tie to your previous background.
Yeah, thank you for that, Nicole. We do have some time. There was 1 or 2 more questions I had already chosen, but I want to leave some more time to take questions from the audience. So if you guys have a direct question, please drop it in the chat. We'll be scrolling through and taking a look so we can answer some of these live for you.
I think also the one thing to throw out there is that, there are very cultural specifics. I'm very privileged. I've lived and worked all over the world. I lived in Tokyo. I lived in London. I lived in New York, LA. I'm Canadian, so I grew up in Toronto. I know all the different cultures. I will say that there are some very specific cultural things that will make you get jobs or not get jobs, especially in America. In the southern states, there's a certain way you have to write. On the East Coast and between New York and LA, there's a certain way you need to apply for things. New York is all about time. If you do not spend the time to make a very short opening sentence, you have, in our opinion, my opinion, you have 7 to 10 words to convince people. That's it. They will not read anymore. It's very, very, it's got to be a headline. So being a creative director in an ad agency many years ago, we would write billboards, and billboards can never be more than 7 words. So you really have to focus on making sure that how do you get across, and that's everything from your name. They're going to check what you write, then they're going to look at your name, then they're going to look at your picture, and they're going to say, is this someone I want to work with? That's how quickly it's going to happen.
I think also, yeah. And it's also just a function of how, because I've hired writers too for my job. And, on the list of applicants, you see the first 2 lines of the cover letter, and that's all you see. So once I realized that, I started to say, okay, what can I put in just those first 2 lines that, really summarizes why this person should hire me? Don't waste your time with hello, dear so, dear so-and-so. I just cut to the chase now and make sure those 2 lines count.
And there is a little secret I will tell you guys that I learned from someone. We were working together. I worked with a group of guys on Upwork to work on the algorithm. And there's one thing that I did notice. When you apply for a job, one of the guys that I was working with, I didn't do this, but he did it. He applies for a job. He gives them literally 3 hours to respond, and then he withdraws the response. He withdraws it right away. So sometimes we wait 24 hours. Now I have my team, we do it after about 2 days. We withdraw with proposals. If they're not interested, well, then I'm not interested. You either like me right away or you're gone. Because there's what we're doing in the real world, in the digital world, is we're filtering all the time, right? You guys all know that you apply for something, you never hear back from somebody. Well, that's not okay. If you're going to be on the platform, you've got to interact with us. There's got to be some give and take a little bit. So this is the withdrawing proposals thing that we played with, and it does work. For him, he was in the email side, so he would apply for something. If they didn't respond to him in a couple of hours, he withdrew his proposal. Because you want to know why? It put his withdrawal, every single person on the platform that does a job, you see it. I know it on our site. You see it when someone withdraws a proposal, because people very rarely do it. So it puts you to the top. So that's another way to get to the top of the algorithm that we found that seemed to work quite well. You might want to try it. It depends on the industry you're in, but it is. Someone was also asking me what mic I'm using. I'm using a Yeti mic, and that's why it sounds so amazing.
It does sound good, and your background looks great too. So if anybody
that's a green screen. That's a green screen.
I know. We talked about this, but that's why I'm jealous. It looks good. So if anybody needs Zoom help or advice, Gavin is definitely your guy. Another little piece of advice that I wanted to share with you guys is just your activity on the platform helps as well. So if you're seeing that you're not getting invited to a lot of jobs, try getting on there for 3 days and applying to 5 jobs each day. The more that you're making your profile active, the more that your profile is going to be suggested to people when they are looking for people to invite to their jobs. So the more you're keeping your profile active, the more you're also going to come up in searches. So I know it's really hard in the beginning to get that first job, but just stick with it, stay active. And another one of my favorite tips is that if you didn't know, as a freelancer as well, when you go to the top of Upwork and you can hit the search bar where you're typing in a job to search for, instead of searching for a job, you can hit that little drop down arrow and search for talent. So I like to search for talent that is in a similar niche as me. I look for other event planners, and I look at their web page and to see how they describe themselves, to see what kind of work they're taking on, and see if there's anything that I can kind of model my profile after. Because even though I do some of these events for Upwork online, I'm also a freelancer myself. So I also freelance full time and work on the platform as well. So if you haven't done that, take some time to look at other freelancers that are in your space, look at their profile, and see if you can kind of pull some tips and tricks from theirs. Obviously, don't copy and paste anything that is from somebody else's profile, but see if you can kind of like rewrite it, or like if it makes you remind yourself of something that maybe you didn't put out there about yourself. So I find that really helpful.
The other thing is too, is that Regan, is that someone asked you a good question, that when you withdraw your proposal, do you lose connects on that or not? It's just I didn't actually know the answer to that question, because we just withdraw and we have so many connects because we're always applying that I don't think you lose any when you withdraw, right? That's
a good question. I do think that you get them refunded. I'm not 100% certain.
If you withdraw a proposal, you get a refund? Okay, that's good to, maybe I'll find it. Maybe someone knows. You do not get your connects back, people are saying.
Yeah, so
you do not get refunded.
I don't think you would, because people would do that just to game the system to get more you know,
Yeah.
apply
Well,
for more
I
jobs.
guess that's
There
supposed to be
are
avoiding,
conditions.
if you're doing it that often, then yes, for sure. But I know that another way you can also get some of your connects refunded, and if any of you guys have used this before, is the boosted profile feature, or your boosted proposal feature rather. This is a somewhat new feature, probably in the last 6 months or so, where you can essentially bid extra connects to make sure that your proposal ends up on the very top of the list. And how it works is that, let's say I bid 20 connects, and Gavin bid 40 connects. So Gavin's, and again, just examples, I think those are high numbers, but Gavin's going to win it at 40. He's going to be the number 1 spot. I'll be the number 2 spot at 20. And then everybody else who also, put in some connects, like 5 or 10, they'll all be refunded if you don't get one of those top positions. So you're not just paying them and not getting them back. You're only paying them if you actually win one of those top positions.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's another new possibility for you guys if you're wanting to make and it just kind of shows the client as a way to say, like, I really love this job. This is super interesting to me. I really want to make sure that, my bid is on the top of your page. So you can bid those extra connects without having to worry that they're going to be spent and you're not winning anything. They're only going to be spent if you actually obtain one of those top few spots. Otherwise, they'll be refunded to you and you'll just pay the standard like 3 to 6 that it costs to apply.
Cool.
Yeah. All right.
There
Let's
seems
see.
to be a lot that you can, there's a lot of new features that are coming out. I have seen people talking about, and we should probably address it really quickly, is that people are saying that the 20% is too high and they want to lower it. Guys, I just need to take for 1 second. If you think that 20% is too high to build a business in the digital world, you are drunk, right? You have so much access to so many people around the world for 14 or whatever you pay monthly. It's insane. If you can't build a business on this platform, we've checked all of Upwork's Google rankings. I mean, it's crazy. That's where all this information, that's how everyone's getting in here. And the fact that they don't allow everyone on the platform, if you're not getting hired, the same for us. We sometimes don't get hired. But I think that to think that 20% is too high is, trust me, I will tell you this, to set up a business in another country to go and get will cost you a lot more than 20%. It's low risk, high return. And the last thing I would say is that we did the same thing that Regan talked about. We put a big spreadsheet together. I analyzed every single other person who was a Zoom operator on, and we rank ourselves against other people who are Zoom operators on the platform. And it was really eye-opening. We learned lots of things that we found. Now, the other thing is we actually reached out to them and built, and I think Regan's going to talk about community. We have a little Zoom community that we talk about. We're all competition, but the great thing is that I actually give some jobs to people once I know them. Because I'm like, well, we can't take on all this job, or it's not job specific for me, or it's not enough money. But I know there's a new up and coming guy who's 22 years old and he wants it. I will give that to him because I've talked to him. I've recommended him. I know he's going to be good. We don't normally give recommendations. I very rarely recommend anybody because I don't know what the customer is going to get from that unless I know the person well enough. So sometimes we invite people in and they'll do it. But I think that if you're thinking that 20% is a lot, it may seem like a lot. But the final thing I'll say is that when we get a customer, we spend time with that customer finding out if they have any other people that would like to work with us. That is the power of Upwork. Asking your current customers in a nice way, not aggressive, like the first day, hey, welcome. And by the way, do you have any other customers? No, you're like, after you've worked with them for a while, we go back to customers we've been with for about a month, even if we only do one. And I'll be like, hey, what's going on? Hey, I just wanted to know, do you have any, friends in the business that might need our help? Could you pass this on? We have a referral fee. I'll give you a Starbucks card, whatever it costs, right? In the digital world, because so many people are trying to do stuff all over the world and so many people are coming online, right? And everyone's trying to make money, is that if you get a customer, the referral, the word of mouth, the recommendation is worth much more than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Amazing. I love that, Gavin. And I'll kind of wrap it up then on that point, because what you said is absolutely true. So we're kind of working to build out additional ways for you guys to connect with each other, hence kind of the initiatives behind the community building. So I know it's been something that's been a long time coming. So I apologize. It's taken us really this long to get everything up and running, but it's been about a year now that we've really been focusing on some community initiatives and kind of trying to create spaces for you guys to connect with one another, not only to support each other, but to ask questions that you might have. And just as Gavin mentioned, to be able to send referrals to each other. So another new feature on the platform that I believe should be launched to everybody now, if not, it will be shortly, is the network feature. So kind of like the same idea behind LinkedIn, where you can add people to your network, you can now add people to your network on Upwork so that you can easily refer each other for jobs. So, you know, if you have too many jobs going on right now, you don't have time, I'm going to send it over to Gavin because he's in my network. I know that he can handle this. So in addition to working with freelancers that maybe do the same thing as you, you can also create a network of freelancers that do something similar to you so that you have like complementary skills that you can offer. You know, so my services might stop here, but then I can recommend you onto Gavin or Nicole, who can kind of take you into those next steps. So I hope that over the next few months, you guys continue to attend events like this, continue to join some of the community groups that we're starting to build out. If any of you have suggestions for community events or groups that you want to see, please send us an email. Feel free to reach out. We really create all these events based on your guys' feedback and the information that you're giving to me and to my team. So if you guys want to see anything in particular, please feel free to share. And we'll take that into account as we're continuing to build and create our next events. So without further ado, I'm going to thank our panelists, Gavin and Nicole, for spending some time to discuss with us.